Hello everyone, welcome to the course of satellite communication. In today's session, we are going to deal about active and passive satellites. There are several classification of satellites we have already seen in the previous sessions. Okay, so coming to this particular type of satellites, this is completely based on the signal processing. So based on the signal processing, the satellites are classified into two types. One is passive satellites and the another one is active satellites. Okay, so whenever the Earth station try to communicate with the satellites present in the orbit, okay, what happens to the satellite, how they will be communicating with the Earth station or the ground station, how the signal processing will be done at the end of passive satellites or the active satellites, we are going to see right now. Okay, so why these satellites are separated as a passive and active satellites? What happens when they are processing some information or the data collected from several parts of the Earth or the universe. Okay, so before transmitting that particular data into the Earth station, what these satellites do, okay, what a particular passive satellite do or what an active satellite do, let us see. Okay, so whenever a data is coming from a satellite towards an Earth station, okay, what we expect is a good quality of data, okay, or a good signal, good amount of signals, as that we have a good purity or a quality of a signal which is received at the Earth station. Okay, of course, anyway, after the receiving of that particular signal, we will be amplifying that particular signal and we will be eliminating the noise or unwanted noise or distortions, and we will be strengthening the signal. That is another issue. Okay, so along with the Earth station amplification, we expect the satellite also to amplify the signal as it collects the information from other part of the world or some other place. Okay, so there are several types of satellites in which few satellites will be amplifying the signal which is incoming. Okay, or it also amplify the signal which from the data which it collected. Okay, before sending that particular signal or data into the Earth station, first it need to amplify the signal. Few satellites are used to amplify the signal and then they will send the data, but few satellites just acts as a reflector. Okay, so the satellites which acts as a reflectors or transponders can be considered as passive satellites, and few satellites which acts as a transponders or an reflectors, and before sending the signal to the Earth station, they also amplify the signal. Okay, so those can be called as an active satellites. Now let's see what is an actual passive and active satellites do. Okay, so coming to the passive satellites, the passive satellites is a reflector, as I have already mentioned, which receives the signal from transmitting Earth station and scatters the signal in all the directions. So here a passive satellite is mentioned as a simple reflector. Whatever the signal it takes from the Earth station. Earth station means a station with a huge antenna on the Earth which try to communicate with the satellite to gather some information. Okay, so whenever this particular Earth station starts transmitting the signal to a particular satellite, and if that particular satellite takes the signal from the Earth station or receives the signal from the Earth station and scatter or retransmit that particular signal into several directions in the orbit, so that that signal will be, okay, captured by another nearby satellites for the further communication. Okay, so this type of satellites which just reflect the signal which is taken from the Earth station and transmits the signal into the orbit for further communications can be considered as passive satellites. Okay, they don't do any kind of modifications or any kind of amplification of the signal. They just transmit the signal as it is, how they have received from the Earth station. Okay, so it reflects the electromagnetic radiation without any modification or amplification. So these simple satellites are just called as passive satellites. Okay, now coming to the active satellites. Okay, here these satellites plays an important role, okay, along with the passive satellites. So this active satellites has many benefits over passive satellites. Okay, so they will be having their own transmitting and receiving antennas. Okay, we can also mention them as transponders. Okay, so these active satellites will be having a particular separate unit which consists of both transmitter antenna as well as receiving antennas, which transmits and receives the signal from the Earth station, or they also gather the data from several parts of the world. Okay, so along with that, it amplifies the signal received from the Earth station or the ground station, and again retransmits the amplified signal back to the Earth. Okay, whatever the data or the signal it receives from the Earth station, first it amplifies the signal and process that particular data, and again whenever the result is ready, it again amplifies the signal and send back the particular signal or the output to the Earth station again. Okay, so what's happening here? The amplification of the signal is done using an active satellites. Okay, where it uses a transponder which has got a transmitting and receiving antenna, and it has many more advantages compared to a passive satellite. We're coming to a passive, it's just used as a reflector. Whatever the signal is taken from the Earth station, it just scatters into the space or an orbit. Okay, which can be used as an further communication purpose by another satellites or something else. Okay.